We often think a lie is just a false statement, right? That an opponent comes at you and says something like, "You're weak," or "There's no hope." But what if the most sophisticated, the most dangerous lies aren't statements at all? What if they're questions? Let's get into it.
Just think about that for a second. A statement, well, that triggers our logical defenses. We can pick it apart, analyze it, and choose to reject it. But a question is a totally different animal. It just slips right past our defenses and triggers what's called the search reflex. Our brain has this immediate, almost irresistible urge to find an answer. And right there, in that moment of searching, the back door is wide open.
And that's exactly what we're breaking down today, the interrogation trap. We're going to look at how your own natural curiosity can be turned into a weapon against you through a very specific kind of psychological attack.
The weapon at the heart of this trap is something called a presuppositional question. Now look at this definition. A lie is literally baked into the structure of the question. So the second you even try to answer it, you've already stepped onto the enemy's turf. You've accepted their false premise. You've already lost, and you haven't even said a word yet.
This right here shows you the genius of it. Statements are like a frontal assault. You can see them coming a mile away. But questions? Oh, questions are a form of infiltration. They hijack your brain's natural desire to solve a puzzle, and that compels you to engage. They don't ask for your agreement, they demand your participation. It's a brilliant trap.
So, to really get our heads around this, we're going to analyze two ancient but incredibly sophisticated psychological case studies. The first one is a military siege straight from the book of Isaiah, and the second is the famous temptation of Jesus out in the wilderness. Both of these stories give us a timeless blueprint for psychological warfare and, more importantly, for psychological defense.
Okay, so let's start with the attack. In Isaiah chapter 36, we see this strategy I call the Hezekiah Protocol. It uses this rapid-fire questioning not to get information, but to create total psychological instability. It's designed to break you down.
So you have the Assyrian general, Hezekiah, standing outside the walls of Jerusalem, and he starts his assault. But not with arrows or catapults. He starts with this question: what are you relying on? It's designed to immediately make you doubt your own foundation, to get you to look inward and second-guess your own confidence.
But he doesn't even wait for an answer. Boom, he hits him with the next one, pointing out the failures of everyone else. He's basically saying, hey, remember those other cities I already crushed? Where were their gods? He's building a pattern of evidence, forcing the defenders to stare at a long history of failure.
And here's the knockout punch in the sequence. This is what you call an inductive trap. He's using past data, a whole string of defeats, to make a statistical argument against them. He wants you to think, well, statistically speaking, what makes me think I'm going to be any different? It is a devastatingly effective tactic.
So what's the point of all this? Hezekiah isn't actually looking for answers. No, he's creating cognitive overload. The whole goal of this relentless questioning is to completely exhaust the logical part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, and light up the amygdala, the fear center. And an exhausted, terrified mind, well, it doesn't make good decisions. It surrenders.
Okay, so that's the attack. Now how do you defend against it? Well, if Isaiah shows us the problem, the account in Matthew chapter 4 gives us an absolute masterclass in the solution. And the core of this whole counter strategy is this: you have to refuse to accept the attacker's frame for the conversation.
The tempter comes to Jesus, who's been fasting for 40 days, and he poses this question. Now just notice how insidious this is. It's a direct challenge to his identity, if you are, and it's tied directly to a desperate, immediate physical need, hunger. I mean, that is a brilliant multi-layered attack.
This is a classic psychological trap. It's called a double bind. Think about it. If Jesus turns the stones into bread, sure, he proves his power, but he's doing it because the enemy told him to. He's obeying the enemy's command. But if he refuses and says, I don't need to prove anything, he just sounds defensive and maybe even weak. It's a total lose-lose scenario.
So what does he do? He doesn't play the game. I love this slide. It just captures the strategic genius here perfectly. Jesus completely refuses the enemy's frame. He doesn't answer the question about his identity at all. Instead, he makes a declaration about his source. He completely shifts the entire reality of the conversation from the physical, from the here and now, to the spiritual.
And that leads us to the actual mechanism behind his defense. This wasn't just some clever comeback, It was a deeply psychological move, and it's rooted in what we can call an authority anchor. Okay, so when you're under psychological attack, when you're exhausted, you're hungry, you're afraid, your own internal thoughts and feelings are compromised. You literally cannot trust them. The winning strategy is externalization. You have to anchor your response in something objective, something unchanging, something external to you.
And that is why Jesus constantly required, "It is written." He wasn't saying, "Well, I think," or "Here's how I feel." No, he was anchoring his reality in something completely outside of his current suffering. He was using a divine, objective standard to defeat a subjective, temporary temptation. And that makes the whole argument immune to negotiation. There's nothing to debate.
So, when we put these two incredible case studies together, what we get is a complete and, frankly, a perfect defensive protocol against the interrogation trap. It's a powerful 1-2 punch. Okay, step 1 comes from Isaiah. King Hezekiah's command to his people was dead simple. Do not answer him. First things first, you have to recognize that the interrogator is illegitimate. You invalidate their right to even ask the question by being silent. Then, step 2 comes from Jesus. You don't answer their question, you answer with a higher truth. You replace their broken frame with God's perfect frame.
And you've got to know, this ancient strategy is still used all the time today. You'll hear it in questions like, if God really loves you, why are you sick? Or, if you're really saved, why do you still struggle with that? These are not genuine questions. Just like we've seen, they are presuppositional traps, and they're designed to completely undermine your foundation.
So the real key takeaway here is this. When an adversary tries to pull you into one of these interrogation traps, you must refuse to play their game. Do not debate the evidence they present. Don't get sucked into an argument based on their flawed premise. You do not negotiate the terms of your reality with them.
And that really brings us to the most crucial point of all. The ultimate defense against the interrogation trap is to internalize this one fundamental truth. You do not owe your adversary an explanation for the hope that is in you. Your job isn't to justify, it's simply to stand.